Hello, everyone. I'm Frank, and welcome to Frank Puzzles. And yes, I got a haircut. So I was looking for actually a Sudoku that had a haircut as in its title, but I couldn't find any. So we're just gonna do this one, anyways. This is today's challenging level puzzle, and it's called Taking Turns by Nordy. And here are the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, which means place the digits 1 through 9 once each in every row, column, and box. Draw a single, non-intersecting loop that travels orthogonally through the centers of some cells. So orthogonally just means that they share an edge, so it has to connect specifically this way. It cannot connect diagonally. That's really all it's saying. For the loop, in every cell it enters, the loop must make a 90-degree turn. So that means you can never have, on the loop, you can never have a straight line, right? It always has to be a 90-degree loop. So it could be something like this, along those lines. So as an example, let's just show an example. So this, that's the edge only. We want center only. So this would be, for an example, a valid loop because it takes a 90-degree turn every time it enters a cell. This would not be valid because, again, for every time, there are two places where it doesn't actually take a 90-degree turn once it enters a cell, right? It would be specifically this cell and this cell where it does not take a 90-degree turn. And this, for this loop, you actually must turn every time you enter a cell. So it must make a 90-degree turn, which is, for example, this, which is basically a right turn or a left turn. A turn with a right angle, a 90-degree angle. And on the German whisper line, so let's draw the previous loop that we had. The loop acts as a German whisper line, which means adjacent digits along the loop must differ by at least 5. So for example, if this were a 3, this would have to contain an 8 or a 9 to maintain, have a difference of at least 5 between adjacent digits on the German whisper line. And this whole loop is a German whisper line. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Additionally, the loop must enter at least one of the digits touched by every black dot. And these are called black Kropke dots. And so the loop must be in at least one of the two. So for example, it could be either one. Either one of these two at least has to be on the loop. One of these two has to be on the loop. One of these two has to be on the loop, etc., etc. And digits joined by a black dot are in a 2-to-1 ratio. So for example, if this were a 4, this would have to be a 2 or an 8 to maintain the 1-to-2 ratio. And those are all the rules. If you'd like to play along, there's going to be a link in the description. And now, I'm going to get started. Let's go. Okay, so one thing we know for this, if say it has to enter one of these two cells at least. If it enters this one, it will always enter this one. Otherwise, it'll just enter this one. So no matter what, it always has to enter in here. Actually, can it actually ever enter this one? If it enters that way, it would have to be turning from here. So it cannot enter straight that way. It would have to turn from here to here to here to here. But then the problem is it could not actually enter in back this way. Right, so this is not valid to enter this way, right? Because say we tried to have one that entered this one. Well, this one has to be a 90-degree angle from there, and this one has to be a 90-degree angle, but we have only a single loop. So this is not possible because it does not touch any of the other cells in that are next to the other black dots. So it has to specifically go here, and this one cannot turn this way. Well, this one turns there as a 90-degree angle, and then this as a 90-degree angle has to turn here. So then this has to go that way, this has to go that way. This one has to go here. This one, again, we have a 90-degree angle, so it has to go here. And then this is another 90-degree angle, so it must go here. Now this one could actually go this way or that way, we're not sure, and this one could go this way or that way also. This, interestingly enough, has 7 cells, which are on the German whisper line. So at least one of those cells has to be... Okay, and where is the 5 in this box, right? In this box, we have to have a 5 here, and 5 can never be on a German whisper line because 5 is 5 away from 0 or less, which is not a normal Sudoku digit, and 10 or more, which is not a Sudoku digit, which is not a digit, period. So where is the 5? Well, the 5 can't be next to a black crop key dot because it's not double anything, and if you double 5, you get 10, which is not a digit. So this is never 5. So where is the 5? The 5 has to be here. And the remaining digits now have to have 4 through 6. Well, on a German whisper line, you can never have... there are certain digits that can only be next to one unique digit on a German whisper line. And those are 4 and 6, right? 4 can only be 5 away from 9 as a digit, and 6 can only be 5 away from 1 as a digit. Any other normal Sudoku digit is not 5 away from 4 or 6. So one of these, actually I guess both of these could be 4 or 6. But we know these 5 cannot be. So one of 4 or 6 is here at least. Oh, and the thing is, on German whisper lines, you always alternates between lows and highs, right? So if you have a low in one area, 1 through 4, you'll always be next to a digit that's from 6 through 9, right? Because 1, which is the lowest digit, if you add 5 to it, that becomes 6. So therefore, you have next to a 1, you can have 6 and above. But for every other digit, you have to increase the digits, right? If you have 2, you can only be next to 7 and above. For 3, you can only be next to 8 and above. And for 4, obviously, you can only be next to 9. So, and then it'll also be the opposite, or not the opposite. It'll swap sets, right? So if you have a 6 through 9, you can only be next to a 1 through 4 from normal Sudoku digits. So again, yeah, if you take a 9, you subtract 5 from it, that means the digits that could be next to it on a German whisper line have to be 4 or less. And so therefore, it'll always alternate between 1 through 4, and then 6 through 9, and then 1 through 4, and then 6 through 9, etc., etc. So whatever this set is, we're just going to make it, actually, let's make it yellow. This is yellow. We're going to make this one pink. So this has to be the opposite set, right? Which makes this the yellow set, which makes this the pink set, which makes this the yellow set, which makes this the pink set, which makes this the yellow set. So we have all 4 yellows have to be here. And 4 and 6 are from different parts of, are in different sets, right? So these two cannot be the same set. So you can't have a 4 and a 6 both be here. And the rest of the cells in box 1, which are on the German whisper line, see 2 unique digits, right? This sees 2 unique digits on the German whisper line. This sees 2 unique digits on the German whisper line, etc., etc. So 4 and 6 cannot be any of these cells. Only one of them can be here because they're not in the same set. Therefore, the last one has to be here. Therefore, this has to be a 4 or a 6. If this is a 4, it has to be of the pink set, right? And so therefore, these have to be opposite sets. So if this is a 4, which is a low, then this would have to be high, which is an 8. Oops. This is an 8. If this is a 6, which is a high, it would have to be next to a 3, which is a low, right? Um, so this is then also pink, and this is pink also. We just don't know what the number is. So one of these has to be 4 or 6. We're not sure which means the other one has to be next to 1 or 9. Well, this can never be 9 because it's next to a black Kropke dot, and 9 is never double any other number. And if you double 9, that makes 18, which is not a digit. Therefore, this can't be 9, so this can never be 4. 4 could be here. Let's see. What else do we know? We know the German whisper line has to enter in one of these two cells, but we're not sure which. It could be both again, but excuse me. So this again could be 4. The 6 could be either one. So if this is a 4, that means this has to be 8. 4, 8, which means one of these has to be 6. And the rest would be 1, 2, and 3. If this is 6, this would have to be 3. Which means if they're high, that these both have to be 8 or 9. Which makes this a 7, which makes this 1, 2, 1, 2. And this would have to be 4. But this cannot be 9. Right? So, okay. 3 can only, when it's low, can only be next to 8 and 9. Sorry. 3 on a German whisper line can only be next to 8 and 9 on a German whisper line with normal Sudoku digits. Therefore, these would both have to be 8 and 9 if this were 6 and this were 3. Therefore, this would have to be a 7, and 7 can only be next to 1 and 2 on a German whisper line. Therefore, this would be 1, 2, 1, 2. That would make this digit a 4. But 4 has to be next to a 9 on a German whisper line. So this would have to be 9. But the problem is 9 can never be next to a black Kropke dot. So this doesn't work. Therefore, we know this can't be 6, which means this has to be 4. This has to be 8, and therefore the yellows are all the high numbers, and the pinks are all the low numbers. So therefore, these can't be 1, 2, or 4. This then has to be 1, 2, and 3 here. These are 6, 7, and 9, and 6 obviously can't be there. So one of these two is a 1. We're not sure which. Okay, where is the 5 in box 4? Can't be any of these 3 cells, and it cannot be any of these cells because 5 can never be next to a black Kropke dot. So therefore, the 5 has to be specifically one of these 2 cells. Then the 5 also has to be one of these 3 cells because of the process of elimination. This is still, this could be 1 through 4. This could be 1 through 4. We know one of these is a 1, though. So this can't be 1, but that doesn't really tell us very much. This can't be 4 or 8. So if this can never be in a 4-8 pair here. You could have 1, 2. You could have 3, 6. You could have 2 and 4, and those are possible. This has to turn. So if it turned this way, it would have to turn back here, and therefore 5 would be on the German whisperer line, which is not allowed. Therefore, it has to turn this way. Cannot turn into the 5, so it must turn this way then. So this is high, this is low. It could turn back here. We don't know. It actually has to enter in one of these 2 cells. Again, it cannot actually, it has to always enter here. The question is, can it actually go this way then this way? That's possible, I guess. It can never enter in this, though. So this is not possible to be in the German whisper line. This is not possible to be on the German whisper line. If it enters here, it can never get to here, right? Because it has to turn 90 degrees every time. So then it could enter here, then here, then here. But it can't enter in back here because they would have to go straight that way. And some way just doesn't go this doesn't go in here this fine, right? So they cannot enter here either. So it either goes this way to here, or it cannot go straight. It could go something weird, like, I don't even know, like something like that. But either way, this one has to be on the German whisper line. Because we know at least one of the two has to be. It could... Actually, can it ever actually enter this way? I don't think so, right? Because it has to be... Yeah, on... in a black Kropke dot, there's no two digits that are in a 1 to 2 ratio and also have a difference of 5. So yeah, it can never actually go this way. So this cannot be on the German whisper line, right? This one has to be. And whichever way it takes to get here, it'll always be, well, okay, so it can't, what it cannot do then is it cannot go like this way or whatever to get here. That means it does have to go back here, right? If we try to do 90 degree, 90 degree, 90 degree, 90 degree, 90 degree, 90 degree, it would have to go this way. But again, no two digits on that are in a 1 to 2 ratio in normal Sudoku can have a difference of at least 5, right? The biggest one is 4 and 8. So it can never go across here, which means this does have to go here, then here. So it goes this way, then it has to go back here because it always turns. So then these two are highs, and this must be a low. So this can't be 6. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. That means this can't be 3. This has to turn, so it cannot go straight, so it has to turn here, which makes this a low. This is in a 1 to 2 ratio, so it has to be high, so this has to be specifically 6 or 8, but 6 cannot be next to 2 unique digits on a German whisper line. Therefore, this must be 8, which forces this to be 4. So this cannot be 4. This is 1, 2, or 3. This has to be 1, 2, or 3. It's next to... This has to be 6, 7, or 9. And this is also 6, 7, or 9. We now have... This can't be 6, though. 4 can only be next to a 9. Therefore, this has to be 9. And this has to be 9, which makes that 7, which makes that 6. The 6 can only be next to 1s on the German whisper line. Therefore, this is a 1. This is a 1. This then cannot be 6 or 9. It can't be 8. This must be 7. And 7 can only be next to 1 and 2 on a German whisper line. This can't be 1 because of that 1, so this must be a 2 specifically. So this can't be 1 or 2, so it must be 3. Which means this can't be 3, so this can't be 6. We now have a 1, 2 pair in box 4, which eliminates 1 and 2 from the rest of the box. Therefore, oops, this has to be a 5, 6 pair. Okay, so this is 2. This is 1. These can't be 1 anymore. That's to be... So this has to be next to a 7, therefore this must be 2, which makes this a 3. So this can't be 2 anymore, therefore this is 1, which makes that a 2, to be in a 1 to 2 ratio. We have, right, So this all works. The rest of these digits are what? 5, 6, and 3. And none of those are 5 away from the 2. So none of these can be on the German whisper loop, then. It must turn here. So it goes that way, which means this is a high, and it has to be 7 through 9. Again, it cannot turn in here. Specifically can't go this way, right? Because it always turns 90 degrees. So none of these can be on the German whisper loop. It could technically go down here, down here. Well, no, then it would form another box here, right? Because it would have to go 90 degrees here. So it can't enter this way. It could enter here, but it can't enter this one because it can't go straight. It could turn here too. This one turns. We're not sure which way. The rest of these are 4 and 8. And the rest of these are 1, 7, and 9. Can this ever be on the loop? Could go 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. So yes, that could be on the loop. And if it were, this would be a high number on the loop. But it could also go this way. The rest of these cells are 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9. Obviously, 5 and 9 cannot be here. Interesting. So whichever way it enters in this next to this black Kropke dot, it must always enter in next to the 3, 4 part. Because 6 and 8 are never 5 away from the rest. I guess, no, 8 could be next to a 3. So that's actually incorrect. You could have an 8 next to a 3. So it doesn't actually have to enter in the low part of the 3, 8, 3, 6, or the 4, 8 pair. It can never enter in the 6 part because the 6 has to be next to a 1 twice. Okay. This could go here, then here. That is valid. Or it could go here and here. This cannot be 1 or 2 or 6. It could be 3, 4, or 8 here. That can't be 8. This is 3 or 4. Ah. Well, this is low. Interesting. And it could be next to... Okay, so since this is 3 or 4, it can never be high. It can never go this way, right? If it tries to go this way and then connect this, it doesn't work because this would have to be high, low, and then high. So it cannot enter in this way. Therefore, it must specifically enter this one. And this one has to be low also. Well, since this is low, it can never be a 3 next to because a 3 is always next to a 6 on a black Kropke dot. So therefore, this has to be 4 and 2 specifically. It has to go this way then. So it has to enter here, then here. which makes this a high, and this is 7 or 8. It must go another 90 degrees. It can't go this way, so it must go this way, which means this is high. So this is also 7 or 8. That means it can never. So this is low. It can never ever actually enter there. It can't enter these two because again, it can't form a loop there. I don't think it could enter here because then it could be. Yeah, it would have to go this way, then that way, and then back here. So that's not valid. Could do something like weird like that. So we don't know about that. This could enter that way or that way. We're not sure which. This can't be 4. Hmm. Hmm. The rest of this has to be 3, 5, 7, or 9. That doesn't really tell us much. The rest of this is 1, 4, 6, 7, 8. Obviously, 1 and 4 can't be here because of these two cells. It could enter that way still. Hmm. Hmm. The rest of this part. Okay, yeah. So to turn into one of these, you have to specifically have 3 or 8 to be the one that's entered into. If you enter in from a side and then turn into from there, the problem is that doesn't work very well, right? So you say you had a digit coming in and it entered this one, and this was not a 3 or 8. It would then have to be 4, 6. I guess no, 4 could still be there because you could have 9, 4. Never mind. 6 is the only one that's ruled out, right? Because you can't have 6 next to a 1 here because 1 can't be in the row anymore because of this 1. So 6 is the one that cannot be in the on the loop. But that doesn't really tell us much. Hmm. 2 can't be here, 2 can't be here. That doesn't tell us anything there. Can it go this way than that? Possibly, yeah. Or this way. If it went this way, it'd have to be a low next to a high. Could go back here. Hmm. One of these is a 2. That doesn't give us much help, though. Also, since we know that this alternates between lows and highs on the German whisper loop, if the digit is on the loop, we know these have to be high if they're on the loop. If these are on the loop, they have to be low because, again, you'll always alternate between highs and lows. Therefore, you'll always have a checkerboard pattern, right? These would have to be low. These would have to be high. These would have to be lows, right? And the reason why you know is because it always alternates between low and high, right? It always alternates between the two different sets. So to get to any place, you have to on that's on the loop. You always have to be essentially alternating to the spot. And so if you tried to get here from here, no matter what pattern you or what path you take, so say it went this way, left, right. So we went blue. This would be low, high, low, high, low, no matter what. However you get there, right? Low, high, and low is the same from here. So then these would all be highs if they're essentially valid. These would all be lows if they're valid, right? These would be highs and these would be lows. These would be highs and this would be, actually, I don't think it can ever enter a corner, right? Because it specifically has to go here, then here, then here. Right, this is not on the loop. So it would have to specifically enter in this way, take a 90-degree turn, then take another 90-degree turn, then take another 90-degree turn, and then it would enter in the same place, which would intersect. So this is not possible to be on the loop, and this is not possible to be on the loop. This will always be low then, because to be on the loop, it would have to enter in that way and be on the loop. So therefore, this cannot be 6 or 8. It has to be 3 or 4. This can't be 3 or 4 because this always must be high with it. And there's always a low-high pair here. And since this is always the low one, it has to be the low here, and this has to be high. Either way, if it enters in, right? So if it enters in this way, it could enter in as a high and enter in next to an 8. And this would be 8, 4, and this would be 3. It cannot be 6 because you can't have a 6 next to without a 1 next to it on a German whisper line, and this couldn't be a 1. It could enter this way too, and this could be 3 or 4, right? But this would have to be a low no matter what in that instance. This would always have to be a high, therefore we know these are specifically a low and a high here. We just don't know which one it enters, or if it enters both. It could actually enter both, potentially. Um, hmm. Okay. What else are we missing here? Hmm. I get the feeling that this has to go this way, but I don't know if I can prove that. If it goes this way, it would have to turn, then turn, then turn, then turn, and it could not. Okay, so this can never be entered into, I don't think. Turn, turn, turn. Yeah. How does it actually enter here? It would have to turn from here, then turn from here. I guess it could go... No, because it can't go straight here. So this would have to turn... If this were valid, it would have to turn... Oh, I guess it could go this way. I didn't think about that. Yeah, so it could enter from this way. From this square, it can never actually enter in this way, but from this square, it can. Okay. Oof. Hmm. So if it went this way, how would it go? It would have to go turn, then turn, then turn, then turn, then turn, and it cannot turn that way, so it would have to turn that way. Is that possible? Is a question, right? This would obviously have to be a 1 because it can't be 2, 3, or 4. This would be 2 or 3, which is valid. This would be 3 or 4, so it would have to be next to an 8 or 9. I mean, it seems like it works. Hmm. Yeah, that's why I was trying to rule that out, but it doesn't look like it rules it out very much. Hmm. Which way could it go then? What if it went this way? I mean, it's still valid. Or it could go that way. Hmm. Oh. How does it go this way? How does it enter these two cells, right? It would have to basically be coming from here to here, to here to here, to there, because it always turns. But then the problem is there would be a 5 on this German whisper line, which is not allowed. So it cannot ever enter these two cells. So these two are out. It could go something like that, but it cannot enter that anymore, right? If you try to enter there, it has to enter from, like, I don't even know, this way, then that way, then that way, right? And so these become corner cells. So these cannot be entered into. Could still enter in this way. That's still possible. It could be 3 and 9, right? It could go something like boom, 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 something along those lines. Okay. That's still valid. Ah, except if it tried to go that way, so say it went along that path. The problem is we know there's two lows here, and one of them has to be 1 or 4, right? So if both of them are on the German whisper line, the 4 can only be next to a 9, but it has to specifically enter in this way and then exit out, or enter in this way. So it will always have an appropriate high along the same row, which means that the 4 cannot be on this German whisper line here, because then it would basically have to be next to a digit which is not a 9, and that's not allowed on the German whisper line. So these two cannot be possible, cannot be on the German whisper line. This could still go that way. Yeah, that's possible. This one is no longer valid, though. Right? Because if it tried to enter in, if you tried to have something go that way, this would be turning 90 degrees. This would be turning 90 degrees into that, and that would be a loop by itself. But this one could go this way, right? So this is still valid. Actually, can it ever enter this way, though? Maybe? Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, ooh. Oh, this is going to be, yeah. I don't think it can actually enter this one either. If it tries entering in that way, it has to exit out this way. The problem is this, you have also a unique value. Instead of also always having opposite sets, since it's always turning in every cell it enters for this loop, this doesn't work entering in this way, right? So how does this turn into here, right? It can't, because it has to go 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, but it just doesn't work that way, right? It always has to go straight. So similarly to the checkerboard pattern, that's actually very interesting. Since this is always turning, you have to turn it correctly. So that means both of these cannot actually be on the German whisper loop then, right? Because if we tried to have that, it doesn't work. Again, because it turns here, then turns here. But then the problem is to connect back to here, it can't turn back here. Because then this would be a straight line. That's actually very interesting. But it could go this way. This is still valid. Or it could just go this way, right? We don't have a guarantee of where it goes. It just cannot enter this way. Right, we tried to do that. This one still could go either way. And this one still seems valid. Hmm. Well. Hmm. This is very interesting, actually. The always turning on entering a loop is a very unique circumstance. which does make for some interesting possibilities. So so turn, 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 turn. It could turn here. Right, so that does seem valid that way, right? It could turn like that, right? Yeah. Hmm. It could also turn into here, I think, right? Yeah. It's not as limited as this area, right? Because this area specifically, once you enter in, it has to go a certain way, right? It has to go boom, 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 right? So if we try to do that, the problem is this doesn't equate, right? Can't turn there and then enter in because this one has to turn. But we're not guaranteed anything about that. So then, oh, this can't be similar because we tried to do this, but that doesn't work. So this no longer has, this has to be, this forms a square if it enters this one ever, right? Because it has to have a 90-degree turn. So we say we tried 90 degree, 90 degree, 90 degree, and then it would go back and intersect itself. So this is not on the loop. Hmm. How else can this loop go? That would be 1. This would be 2, 3 if it goes that way. This would be 3, 4. That seems fine. Or it could go this way, which also seems fine. Excuse me. Huh. What are the possibilities here? Okay. So this could be 1 and 2. 2 and 4. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. What happens if it goes here? If it enters here, it must enter this way. So I think no matter what, this does have to be a high, which is actually makes it very unique, right? So say we try to enter here without entering here. How does it go about that? This one specifically can only. I guess it could go something like, no, it can't go that way. How does it enter here? It has to have part of it be a 90 degree, and it can't go across, so that doesn't work. So it would have to go from here, which means this would have to go from here. This would have to go there, and this would have to go 90 degrees. So this would have to go this way, which means it would have to go this way, which means it would have to enter that one. So no matter what, this German whisper line then does have to enter this area. So this does have to be a 6 or an 8. Well, if it's 6 or 8, it has to enter this way, right? Therefore, we know, right, because this one can't cross that way, because you can never cross, for the German whisper line, you can never cross a black Kropke dot. for normal Sudoku. So it would always have to enter here, right? Because one of these would come in this way, and then it would have to exit out some way, and it always has to exit out this way. So we know this is always connected then. This is always on the German whisper line because we tried going this way, and you'll always enter in back this way on the German whisper line. So this has to be a 3 or 4 to be with a 6 or 8. Now we have a 3, 4, 3, 4 pair in column 8, which eliminates 3 and 4 from the rest of the column. So this can't be 3 and this can't be 4. Since this is, we know this has to be on the German whisper line because one of these two has to be on the German whisper line. And if we try going this way, it specifically enters in back here always. So this one is always on the German whisper line. To exit out, it has to exit out this way. So it always must connect this way then, which means these have to be 5 apart from each other. Therefore, this has to be 3. This has to be 8. This is a 4. And this is a 6. So this can't be 3 or 6. This can't be 3 or 6. The 3, again, can never exit out across the black crop key when it turns, so it must turn there, which means this has to be 8 or 9. This then turns this way, this has to turn this way, and it has to turn that way, which means it has to turn that way, because again, we tried going, well, it can't go straight. This could turn either way, we're not sure. This can no longer be 6. Let's see. This cannot go this way anymore, because if it tried to go this way, this would be 4, which would be next to 2 unique numbers on a German whisper line, which is not allowed. So this specifically has to go that way, which means it has to turn. It could turn that way, but if it turns that way, then it would have to turn here, and the 6 is not allowed next to a 4 on a German whisper line. So that cannot go that way. It has to turn here, which means this has to turn that way. So these are not allowed on the German whisper line. This is not allowed because it can't enter in anymore. This could go this way. That's fine. This seems fine. This is a 7, 8, or 9. This is a 7, 8, or 9. This is 1 or 2. This is 1 or 2 because it's next to 2 unique digits on a German whisper line. The rest of them have to be 4, 5. So this is 4, 5, and this is 4, 5. This can't be 4 because of that 4, so this must be the 5, which makes this a 4. But we don't know if this is next to, it could be, this can't be, it could still be on the German whisper line here. That's still possible. But this can't be 8 here. This has to be 1 through 3. This has to be 7 or 9. This is 1 through 3 also because it can't be 4. This can't be 8 anymore because of this 8. This can no longer be 8 either. 5 cannot be any of these cells. It can't be any of these cells because they're on the German whisper line or next to a black Kropke dot. Therefore, the 5 in box 9 has to be one of those two cells, which means this can't be 5. This can't be 4 anymore, so this must be an 8, which makes this a 4. We therefore know that therefore these can't be 4s. This has to be a 4 because it's the only place, right? For box 8. 4 can't be here, 4 can't be here, 4 can't be here, and 4 can't be here because of the German whisper rule. So this must be a 4, which means it's not a high, so this is not on the German whisper line. Therefore, this must go down. So it has to go down here, go 90 degree here, 90 degree here, and then it can go to either one of these, and then it'll connect this way. Either way, it cannot connect here anymore. Can't go up here because it can that will not be able to connect to here without going straight. So this is no longer on the German whisper line then. This can't be 4. Where's the 4 then in row 6? It has to be here. So this is a 4. This is 1, 2, or 3. One of these has to be a low. So the other one would be 1, 2, or 3 also. This is next to two unique numbers on a German whisper line. This is next to two unique numbers on a German whisper line. This can't be 8. Therefore, this is 7 or 9. And this one has to be an 8 because it can't be a 6. And we have a 7, 9, 7, 9 pair in box 8, which eliminates 7 and 9 from the rest of the box. So this must be an 8. So this can no longer be 8. This can't be 8. We have a 7, 9, 7, 9 pair. So whichever one is here has to be a 1 or a 2 because it's next to a 7. So we know then the 3 has to be one of these. We have a 7, 8, 9 triplet in box 8. We also know one of these two is a 1 or a 2. Oh, it can't go straight. Right, so it can't go that way, so it has to turn here. Okay, so then we know specifically it has to go that way, which means this is a 1 or 2. This is not on the German whisper line. Neither is this. The remaining digits have to be 5 and 6 then. So this is 5 and 6, this is 5 and 6. Let's see. This cannot be on the German whisper line, again, because it has to be next to a 1, and it's not going to be next to a 1. These can't be on the German whisper line because it would have to turn in this way, and none of the digits between them, one of them has to be a 5, and the other one would have to be an 8 or a 9, but there's not a difference of 5 between them. So these cannot be on the German whisper line either. This could go that way, then that way, then that way. That's fine. So this can no longer go this way. If it goes this way, it has to go here, then here, and then it would have to turn in here and then here. But that's not allowed to us anymore. So this one cannot be on the German whisper line. This one can't be on the German whisper line. This one can't either because it has to turn this way. So this must go this way. This can't be on the German whisper line because we try to turn... It either goes here or it goes here. We're not sure which. This has to be 1 or 3. Actually, 1, 2, or 3. Either one works. We don't know about this. This could go either way. This can't be 9 because of this 9. So this is 7, 8. We have a 7, 8, 7, 8 pair. We also have a 5 here, so this can't be 5 anymore, which makes that a 6, which makes that a 5. We have a 7, 8, 7, 8 pair in row 4, which eliminates 7 and 8 from the rest of the row. So the remaining digits can only be 1, 2, or 3. So this has to be 2 or 3 because this can't be 1. Okay, this is 1 or 2 next to 7 or 9. We have a 7, 9, 7, 9 pair in row 8, which eliminates 7 and 9 from the rest of the row, which means this is a 1. So this can't, because it can't be 7 or 9. This can't be 1, this can't be 1. This can no longer be 1, so it's a 2. This can't be 1 or 2, so this is a 3. 3 can only be next to a 9 out of 7 or 9. Therefore, this is 7, which makes that 9. This has to be a 1 because it can't be 2 or 3. This can no longer be 3. This is 5 or 6. This has to be 5 or 6, but it sees that 5, so therefore this must be 6, which makes this a 5. And this can no longer be 5. This can't be 5 because one of these two has to be a 5. Therefore, this becomes 6, which makes that a 5. This can't be 5. We now have an 8, 9, 8, 9 pair in row 6, which eliminates 8 and 9 from the rest of the row. So this can't be 9, so this must be a 5. Okay, this can't be 7 anymore, therefore this must be 8, which makes that a 7. The 7 can no longer be next to a 4. Actually, it couldn't anyways, so therefore it has to go up, which means it connects here and then it connects here. So now we have the full loop. So these are not part of the loop. The 7 has to be next to a 1 here because that's the only possibility. That's 5 away from the 7. So this becomes 1. This could still be 6 or 7. We're not sure which. This can't be 1 or 2, so this must be 3 because of this 1 and this 2. This can't be 3, so this must be 6. This can't be 9 because of that 9, so this is 7. That makes that 9 and this a 3. This has to be what? We have 2, 5, and 7 remaining. This can't be 7, this can't be 5. This last digit is a 1, so that means this can't be 1, so this is 2, which makes that 1. This can't be 1 anymore, so this can no longer be 6, because if this were a 6, then it would have to be next to a 1, but that's not possible because this is a 1. Therefore, this becomes 7, this is 8, the 7 has to be next to a 2 on a German whisper line or a 1, but there's no 1 possible, so this must be 2, which makes that a 3. This can't be 2, so this is 7. This can't be 7. This can't be 7, so this is 9. That 9 means this has to be 8, which makes that a 9. This can't be 1 or 7, so it must be 6 because of the 1, 7 here, which leaves a 4 as a remaining digit in the row. So this is a 4. This cannot be 7 or 5. The rest of these are 3 and 9. We have a 3, 9, 3, 9 pair in box 3, which eliminates 3 and 9 from the rest of the box. Therefore, this can't be 3 or 9. This can't be 3 or 9. The remaining cells here are 2 and 8. Therefore, this can't be 8 because of this 8. So this must be 2, which makes this an 8. That means this is a 5 because this can't be 2, and that's a 2. This can't be 7, so this is 5. This is 7. There's no 5 or 7 here, so this is 3 or 9. We have all the 2 set. All the 1s should be... Yeah, we have 8 1s, so the last 1 has to be here. So this is a 1. So that's the 9th one. The remaining digits here are 7 and 6. Well, this can't be 6, so this must be 7, which makes that a 6. The remaining digits here... Well, this can't be 3, so this must be 9, which makes that a 3, which makes that 9. And now we're just doing normal Sudoku. And this is a 5, this is a 3, and this is a 6. And that's how you solve it. Very interesting. Like this loop the loop having to actually turn every time is a very unique constraint that well, I've never run into actually. No, it's actually a very cool rule set, which kind of limits where the loop can actually go to. Plus, it also limits things of how you can actually draw the loop, essentially. Especially with the black Kropke dots, because that means the German whisper loop is limited where it can go once you enter a cell, right? So that was really cool, like this aspect of like basically figuring out that these two had to be connected on the loop, because this one was always on the loop. Well, where does it go? Can't cross the black Kropke, so it has to always go this way because it's turning. So a lot of really, really cool logic, specifically with the turning part of this loop. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the solve, and I'll see you next time on Frank Puzzles. Take care.